Hey, welcome everyone. Today I am at the Burke's house and I'm with Theresa and Brody. And today Theresa wants to tell you a story.
Yeah, so when I was young, I grew up in Lincoln Park in a rough neighborhood, and my grandparents were Christian, and but my mom and dad both were not interested in church.
Okay.
They would both, I think, still say that they are Christian, but neither wanted anything really to do outside of just that. Mom and dad were both like working full time or two jobs
Wow.
all the time.
Wow.
So they weren't around a ton.
Yeah.
But I was also the youngest of five, and for some reason, rules just disappear. So I kind of had free range to do whatever. And I think what happened is I just had seen so much kind of chaos that I was looking for something different, something that had structure and community and support. So my siblings had all gone to church, but they're all old. I'm the youngest of five, and my brother is almost 10 years older than me. So when they all left youth group,
Yeah.
there was nothing left, and then I left the church for a while because there was no community in the church I was involved in.
Okay.
Anyway, I eventually found my way back because I just needed that support, and I really found that at First Covenant. That and here, my grandmother's house, were the places that were safe. My house saw a lot of turmoil when I was younger. With my parents gone, my dad had some mental health struggles, and then my brother began doing drugs when he was, I think, 13, I want to say. And it quickly escalated to hard drugs. I think within a year, he was doing harder stuff. First, he tried pot, and then, yeah. So there was just always chaos and turmoil at home. So church was my safe place, even though I didn't really believe anything they had going on there.
Okay.
It was just where people were loving and kind, and I had father figures who were good. And
were you locally close to the church? Like you were able to just walk to church?
I just walked myself. I grew up just a couple blocks from here, and First Covenant Church is also just a couple blocks from here.
Right.
So I would walk there, and for a time I was homeschooled here, and we would also just walk here. And
yeah, okay.
The church, First Covenant Church, and my grandparents' house were really just the places where I felt loved and cared for and supported. So then things got worse as my brother's addiction got worse at home.
Sure.
And I had really crippling depression then, and suicidal thoughts, and I knew I needed a way out, and I had been praying for a way out, but I had just heard a sermon by the pastor, Pastor Terry White, who used to preach there, was talking about the difference between asking God for something and believing when you ask him. And I was like, okay, God, I know you're there, and I know you can do it. I need you to get me out of here. And I was moved out the weekend after.
Whoa.
My brother and sister had just had a room open up in their house, and they were like, you need to get out, come.
Wow.
So, and that was huge. And it was like instantly relief from depression. And so that was a huge...
How old about were you?
17.
17? Okay.
Yeah. So that was a huge moment where I had gone to church and kind of believed, but I started believing in Jesus just before that, but that was like the first thing that I was like, God is powerful, and he cares, and he showed up for me. So fast forward a few years, and I was a direct support professional in a group foster home.
Gotcha.
And it was child foster care. And I had really made a special bond with one of the girls there. And I had started to think, maybe I want to do adult foster care as she ages out.
Yeah.
And when we started dating, right away we had an early conversation of, if you aren't interested in doing this at some point in life, we gotta call it, because I think that's where I'm headed. And he was on board. So yeah, so that was kind of all happening at the same time. And then my grandma experienced, we're not sure what it was because she wouldn't go into the hospital ever in her life. But we're pretty sure it was dementia or something like it.
Oh, okay.
In the final
tumor, maybe.
Yeah, it could have something that causes that same type of thing. So she was losing herself, and we knew she was coming to the end of her life. And I had grown up, with this house as my safe place, and I was like, I just really want it to remain in the family.
Sure.
It's pretty much my family's only asset.
Okay.
My mom doesn't own a house. My aunt doesn't own a house. Now God has blessed my family, and 2 other people own homes in here.
Bryce has a business.
And Bryce has a business. And so there's more now, but back then it was a little scary that we would lose kind of everything. Right. And then I've always wanted to teach art, and I was finishing up my master's around that time. And I had gone to school at LSC, and I really wanted to teach at LSC, and I had been praying about all of those three main things for many years. I was like, I feel like all of these things are on my heart. I don't know if they'll all happen or what. Yeah. But after my grandma passed, we were able to buy her house from the estate, and it was in shambles because she had lost herself there.
Oh, sure.
Wallpaper coming off the walls,
How long was she in that state?
So my grandfather passed in 2012. Okay. And then her mental health went from there. And then my brother passed away in 2016. And then she was it flipped a switch, and she wasn't the same again. But then it really tanked in the last 2 years of her life. So, but it had been about since 2012 that anything had been taken care of.
Right. So we're talking about 8, 9, 10 years.
Yeah. About 10 years of. Wow. Okay. Yeah. And she had a cat, and so we had to pull out all the carpets, pull all the wallpaper, redo absolutely everything. Sure. But it was just a beautiful testament to how God has renewed me in being able to restore a childhood home that was my safe place. He gave me to make it my family's safe place now, because it was the remaining asset. And so we host family dinners here every Monday, so that we can share that with them. And
I think especially for our nieces and nephews, it's become a place that's gonna be a good thing when they're looking back at their life and being like, I remember Auntie Poo Boo's and Brody's house, back in the day, because they're always over on Mondays, and just
very sweet.
It's a good hectic, but a good family time. Sure.
Yeah. So then right around the same time we got this house, we knew we wanted to do adult foster care. We're getting our foster care license, and then we had to do other stuff to the house to prepare it, get smoke alarms and all those kinds of things. While all this was going on, we were getting the house ready for adult foster care and getting our license. And it was just this long, chaotic process. But we were working on that. And then, as I mentioned about getting my master's, we were doing all that all at the same time. And one of my former instructors, after I got my master's, called me and said she's going on sabbatical and she wants someone to take over some of her courses while she was away. And so within 1 year, God had answered 3 of the biggest prayers of my life in giving me the safe place, my childhood home, adding Maddie to our family, and becoming an art teacher at LSC. Wow. So,
Now you work there.
Yeah, now I will work there at least every spring, but I'll probably have 1 class in the fall as long as it fills. So,
wow. I never thought I'd be the type of person that would do foster care. It was never something in growing up that's something that people even do. I had my grandma had foster siblings that were adopted into the family. That's as much as I knew, but it wasn't something that's that's what people do. I just had no experience with it. I had no thoughts of it. Never thought I would see myself in that environment. And it's been the most rewarding part of my life.
Cool. Yeah. So lots and lots of huge ways God has blessed our lives.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. It's interesting. Wow. That's because I've been around for the last 4 years or so. So
You were there when those years happened.
yeah, I remember sitting in a small group with you guys, and you were talking about like getting your masters and stuff, but I didn't know how all those pieces, were so close to each other. Nor did I know about some of the prayers that were being answered. And I don't know, I think it's so cool that you get to be in this house that was your safe place. Like it seems like within a year, there were so many like little stories that God was kind of just wrapping up and kind of putting a bow on to just show you like I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to hear all of those things like come and wrap up like that. So thank you for sharing.